Hello and welcome everyone, we Weave Online, and today I'm gonna continue this story What If Naruto Was God of Shinobi Part 2. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a big thumbs up, and to watch more videos like this, subscribe to my channel and turn that bell notification on so you never miss an upload. Now wasting no more time, let's begin.
Jacken opened his eyes gradually and peered around him. There was an odd smell in the room, which he didn't recognize. It didn't smell like rotting garbage or sake. He moved his arm to scratch his head and moaned. He then noticed the bandages covering his arm. He looked around some more and discovered that his entire body was covered in bandages. That son of a bitch wouldn't do this, I tell myself. He pondered. You're up at last. Jacken abruptly turned to face a person. It belonged to ANBU's Black Ops. The voice made it clear to him that it was a woman. She had a cat mask on. As she spoke to someone, she turned to face the door. She went back to tending to him. Where am I? Jacken inquired. At Konoha Hospital, that is. Your fractures and bruises have received medical attention. She responded. He inquired. Am I in trouble? Sandaime-sama, Nico said before leaving. Jacken and the Hokage were now face to face as the door shut. The ninja leader sat down, and he noticed the file in his hand. Hiruzen flipped open the document and started reading aloud. 9-year-old Jacken Watanabe Shinichi Watanabe, a former genin of Konoha, is the name of the father. The mother's name is unknown. Once failed the genin exams due to your absence from the academy on that day. A well-known bully and troublemaker. Only Tenten Kiguchi surpasses him in terms of martial arts and weapons proficiency. Hiruzen read the document then saved it. Jacken gulped when he looked at her. I have some questions for you. I'll be able to decide on your punishment based on how you respond. Does that make sense? Hokage-sama, yes, stated Jacken. How did you get your injuries? Hiruzen inquired. My training was the cause of my injuries. He spoke. At him, Hiruzen grinned. You shouldn't be overly concerned about what might happen to you. I understand you to be lying. The apartment of your father was searched by my ANBU. One of my best ninjas has already questioned your father, who is also being held and being questioned. I am aware of the abuse. Hiruzen was aware. And sorry, Hokage-sama, stated Jacken. What made you attack Naruto Uzumaki? Exactly. My father gave me the order. Why? Naruto stopped me from picking on his friend 2.5 weeks ago. Iruka gave my father a call. He was indignant that he had been summoned to the academy for such a purpose. He flipped, though, when he found out Naruto had stopped me. After the beating he gave me, I was unable to move. I was thrown out and instructed not to come back until I had killed Naruto. Jacken clarified. That caused Hiruzen to frown. Why didn't you inform your instructors about the abuse? Hiruzen inquired. Jacken hesitated for a brief moment before giving his response with a sigh. All I have is him. Even my mother is unknown to me. She was a whore, and she was only getting back at him for making her pregnant, the drunk told me. He may not have loved me and may not have cared if I were dead, but he was all I had. Hiruzen was moved by the boy he saw when he looked at him. I do feel for you, son, but you tried to kill a boy who is personally in my care, the man said. Suddenly, Jacken was terrified for his life. There are two choices available to you. A year in an ANBU prison is the first available option. You will spend another year under house arrest and being followed around by an ANBU after you are freed. I'll look into getting you back into the ninja program if you stay out of trouble. A trail is the second possibility. If you are found guilty, you will spend 15 years in the Boiling Rock. What option will you choose? Hiruzen inquired. Jacken was considering his available options. The hardest prison in Konoha was the Boiling Rock. There, only the cruelest and craziest people went. He only needed to be aware of something prior to making his decision. He questioned, what will become of my father? Both reckless endangerment and child abuse have been proven to be committed by your father. He won't be released from jail for a while, Hiruzen uttered. Jacken's smile was barely visible on his face. I select Hokage First Sama's recommendation, stated Jacken. That decision is excellent. Nico, Hiruzen shouted. Nico entered the space and knelt down. Sir, young Jacken should be sent to the ANBU medical wing. Once he's recovered, lock him up for a year, ordered by Hiruzen. It will be completed. She spoke. Nico got ready to move the new prisoner as Hiruzen left. So, even though Jacken had suffered abuse his entire life, his father wanted me to die. As they started a new round of shogi, Naruto questioned Hiruzen. The elderly Kage nodded while maintaining constant focus on the board. So, he'll spend some time behind bars. Hiruzen gave another nod, which caused Naruto to sulk. Hiruzen laughed at the youngster. You should be commended for trying to divert my attention, but it won't work. Pay attention to the board right now, ordered by Hiruzen. Naruto moaned and fixed his eyes on the board. Naruto aged a year after a year had passed. He had learned a lot from the old man, who had been his trainer. He was getting much better at using the bow, in order to make Hiruzen take him a little more seriously. He even combined his bow skills with his taijutsu. He had better chakra control and could climb a tree 3 times before losing control. He was still a little sluggish in his tactical training, but he was making progress. He still hadn't figured out how to win at shogi against the elderly man, but he would. In addition, he had received another jutsu for all of his efforts. Shin Zanchu no Jutsu was the name of the method. He was able to go underground and snag someone there thanks to an earth technique. It was a fantastic strategy. It's too bad Iruka didn't value it as highly as he did. Hiruzen was displeased and declined to teach him another method. His bonds with Lee and Yakumo grew stronger over time. The three were a very close-knit group and were hardly ever seen apart. Lee was not too far behind Naruto and had made improvements to his taijutsu. Yakumo excelled at genjutsu and was taught a few self-defense techniques by family members. One more person was added to the group. Tenten Kagachi was her given name. She observed one of Neji and Naruto's verbal exchanges and eventually joined the group. She joined the group after discovering it to be very interesting. In terms of their relationship, Neji and Naruto were friendly rivals. Like everyone else, they sparred and competed, but their verbal fights were some of the most intense anyone has ever seen. Neji continued to think that everyone's destiny was predetermined. Naruto held the belief that each person determines their own fate. Since neither party was able to persuade the other, there was never really a winner. Nevertheless, Naruto did confess to Neji that he relished their little conflicts. While Neji hid the fact from Naruto, he also enjoyed the conversations. Naruto was enjoying growing stronger and stronger as the year had only half completed. For once, his life was truly good. But tonight's events would rock his worldview. For what was about to happen, he would have to be prepared. It was late at night when Naruto awoke. He looked out his window while rubbing his eyes. He was actually waking up even though it was still so dark outside. He rose from bed and went to the kitchen. He went to the refrigerator and pulled out some milk. He put some of it in a metal pot and lit the stove. He watched until he noticed small bubbles. He poured the milk into a glass and turned off the stove. In a few gulps, he downed the warm milk. He placed the glass in the sink before returning to his room. He noticed something on the balcony as he was making his way back. He walked over to the balcony to see what was going on because he was curious. He was close enough to see the elderly man clearly. He had his back to him and was wearing his Hokage robes. He also noticed another person. He had the appearance of an ANBU Black Ops agent. What on earth had one of them come here at this hour of the night? He made an effort to approach them so he could hear them speak, but Hiruzen's voice stopped him. "What are you doing up at this time, Naruto?" Hiruzen had a commanding voice. Naruto abruptly commanded attention. "I apologize, sensei. I woke up. I drank some warm milk and headed back to my bed." Naruto responded right away. "Naruto, get some sleep. We'll talk in the morning." Hiruzen gave the command in a milder voice. "Hello, sensei." Turning swiftly, Naruto went to his room. When the ANBU member was certain Naruto was back in his room, he turned to face Hiruzen once more. "He has matured, Hokage-sama," said the ANBU member. "Yes, I am very pleased with how he is progressing," Hiruzen uttered. Before Hiruzen sighed, the two had been silent for some time. "Regarding what was imposed upon you, I apologize. I made an effort to make things peaceful." "Sir, I am aware of that, but this had to be done. My father was a foolish and obstinate man. Another great ninja world war would have resulted from his and the clan's actions. I've had my fill of war." He spoke. "Can I do anything to help? Please let me know, and I'll try to respect your wishes. I only ask that you keep Sasuke safe and out of Danzo's reach. I've already taken all the necessary steps to secure my future. You make your brother bear a burden. Do you really want him to have this? My atonement will be Sasuke's death at my hands. Please just keep him safe." Hiruzen let out a sigh and focused on the moon. "I'll comply with your request. Sasuke will be safe with me." "I appreciate it, Hokage-sama." "Itachi, I think it's time for you to leave. The investigation will keep the ANBU busy. You will need to be noted in the bingo book," Hiruzen uttered. Itachi nodded before leaving. Hiruzen only sighed once more. All he wanted was for Naruto to be a better Hokage than he had been. Naruto ate lunch the following day with Lee and Tenten. Yakumo was rushing toward them as they were eating. She paused at their table and exhaled slowly. She yelled, "Guys, did you hear the big news?" "Big news?" questioned Naruto. "The Uchiha clan was eliminated." Yakumo spoke out loud. Everyone at the table and nearby was shocked by that. "You must be kidding. Is the entire clan gone?" yelled Naruto. "Yes, they were all killed in a single day. Except for one person, everyone was killed." Yakumo elucidated. "There is a survivor, then?" "Who's that?" inquired Tenten. Everyone turned as Neji leaned against the wall and yelled, "Sasuke Uchiha." "Neji-san, what else do you know?" Naruto inquired. "Sasuke was kept alive. Itachi Uchiha was the one who got rid of the Uchiha family," said Neji. This information shocked everyone even more. "No way, are you serious? The clan's prodigy murdered his own family, right?" Lee shouted. Neji wasn't lying, and Naruto could tell by the way he was acting. Why would Itachi kill everyone in his clan? Was there a problem going on in the Uchiha clan? To think too much about this Uzumaki is foolish. It was. Let's postpone this, Neji. Someone recently lost their entire family. Of all people, you ought to understand how that feels. To him, Naruto said. Neji nodded after casting a glance into the distance. After that, he left the room. Naruto felt compelled to learn more about what occurred. "You three should all be put to death for following me. How dare you act this way without my permission?" Hiruzen bellowed. "If you thought that you could have avoided dying, you were being naive. They deserved to die because they were traitors," said Danzo. "Hiruzen, Danzo is accurate. They had a coup d'etat in mind. They are betrayed." Hamura threw in. "You are subject to the same criticism. Destabilizing the Hokage is also regarded as treason. Perhaps I ought to kill your families," Hiruzen hissed. "Hiruzen, don't threaten us." With a sharp edge, Hamura said. With equal advantage, he responded, "Or you'll do what? You two have had enough. What has been done cannot be undone." Koharu bellowed. Before Hiruzen laughed, the two exchanged more glares. "Leave," he commanded. Hamura and Danzo made a hasty exit. "Hiruzen, you're not exactly making friends," she spoke. "You were unable to extend my time with you. I might have discovered a solution. We now have a boy whose only goal in life will be retribution. Can you tolerate Koharu like that?" Hiruzen inquired. Even though it wasn't the best idea, what else could have been done if there was none? Koharu inquired before leaving his office. Hiruzen only sighed and pressed his nose against his cheek. He merely hoped Konoha would be pardoned for doing so. Over Konoha, the sun arose, bathing the city in its light. Many windows were exposed to its rays, which caused some people's sleep to be disturbed. Among them was Naruto. He was compelled to open his eyes as the sunlight warmed his face. He moaned while staring out his window. He noticed that it was too early as he turned to face his clock. He tried to turn back to sleep on his side, but the sun kept waking him up. Naruto finally gave in and sat up on his bed after a short while. He yawned and wore a glum expression. He turned back to his alarm clock before turning to his calendar. He noticed that today was the Genin exam after slightly narrowing his eyes. Naruto jumped out of bed after waking up. He headed to his bathroom after reaching for his bath supplies. It took place 6 months ago. Hiruzen was able to locate him somewhere else. A shinobi housing area used to be located here. He recalled the neighbors he first met when he moved in. "The man in the green spandex made a strong impression on me." Naruto left the house after taking a shower and having a cup of ramen. As he left the neighborhood, he wished a number of ninja, who returned the favor. Despite the fact that he was very early, Naruto didn't rush to the academy. He was considering picking up Yakumo when he ran into someone. "Whereabouts are you?" "Oh, you're here. What gives? You pipsqueak, bumping into me." The adolescent hissed. "Oh yeah, I'm to blame. Jacken, the mighty, spare me." In a sarcastic tone, Naruto spoke. The two exchanged angry looks before Jacken laughed and turned to leave. Just sighing, Naruto watched Jacken leave. Jacken went back to the academy a year ago. His return sparked numerous rumors, which made everyone anxious. What Jacken tried to do was not a secret. The tension between the two was apparent to the class. Jacken approached Naruto a week later. Neji, Tenten, Yakumo, and Lee surrounded Naruto because they didn't trust the older teen. The group was furious when Jacken offered his own apology. Just now, Naruto promised to stay out of Jacken's way, and he vowed to do the same. Jacken nodded before leaving. Jacken then resumed his normal behavior. He stopped bullying people, but he had developed a lot of haughtiness. He was the 4th best student, and he completed this within 2 months, which explains why. The class didn't hear the end of his boasting. He also accepted Tenten's wrath. Evidently, Jacken objected to the fact that he was inferior to her in accuracy. Not only did he question her abilities, but he also referred to her as buns. She had to be restrained by Lee, Naruto, and Iruka, and Jacken nearly lost his lower horn in the process. Since that time, the two have never gotten along. Just shrugging, Naruto carried on toward the Kurama compound. Iruka joined a number of other academy instructors in the class. Everyone waited for Iruka's instructions while seated in the ready. "Thanks for visiting the Genin exams. Your knowledge and skills that you have acquired here will be put to the test. 3 sections of the exam will be tested. A written exam will be the first component. A 3-part physical examination will make up the second part. The 3 fundamental jutsu will be put to the test in the exam's final section. Do you all get it? Iruka inquired. They all yelled, "Hi sensei." "Okay, then let's start the exam," said Iruka. In front of Iruka and the academy, Naruto took a position. He was ready for any strategy they might employ. "We'll start with the Kawarimi no Jutsu." "All right, Naruto," said Iruka. Sensei already did. As he stood next to Iruka, Naruto spoke. Like the others, Iruka was astounded by what he could accomplish with a person. "Okay, now henge into a person of your choosing," I said Iruka. Naruto nodded and followed instructions. He decided on Hayashi, the leader of the Hyuga clan. 2 instructors examined him for flaws and were awestruck. He even had the Hyuga head's expression. "That was excellent. Now that I am aware of your mastery of the Kage Bunshin, we would like to see you perform another jutsu," said Iruka. Naruto said, "I get it." Naruto inhaled deeply. He expelled his chakra and performed the tiger seal. When water began to form, the examiners were astounded. 2 clones eventually materialized on either side of Naruto. After taking a breath, Naruto ceased using chakra. One examiner questioned, "Are those Mizu Bunshin?" "Yes, I received a Bunshin Jutsu scroll for my birthday. I should have diversity, according to the person who gave me the gift." Naruto elucidated. "Let's give your forehead protector, then, due to your merit," Iruka enthusively said. Naruto wrapped his head in the headband he had taken off. He grinned toothily at everyone. After leaving the academy, Naruto was in a good mood. He was now a Konoha ninja. When he turned to look, he noticed an elderly man conversing with several parents. He began to feel a little down. Everybody who had died was being greeted by a loved one. He noticed as he turned to look around. Even Jacken had a cheerleader waiting to greet him. At that, Naruto sighed dejectedly. He had no family, so he was unable to understand what it was like to be loved. He heard the whispers as he was leaving. The majority expressed their displeasure in silence as they were not happy about his passing. He usually ignored the whispers, but it was challenging this time. He simply had to leave this place. Someone yelled, "Naruto." When Naruto looked up, he noticed Asuma, Konohamaru, and Toshiko waving at him. He moved in their direction. "What's going on, you guys?" Naruto inquired. "That is peculiar. I assumed you would be pleased with your graduation." "We came down to offer our congratulations," said Asuma. "Y'all here for me, right?" Surprised, Naruto inquired. "We are, of course. What do you suppose our purpose to be?" Toshiko inquired. She gave him a hug while kneeling. "Naruto, I'm so proud of you," she spoke. Konohamaru pushed him as she let go of him. "You are the man in charge," said Konohamaru. While still in a state of complete disbelief, Naruto began to smile. "Well, I really am that good," Naruto exclaimed. The group joined him in laughing. Iruka and Hiruzen smiled as they observed. The celebration was in full swing at the Kurama compound. Naruto, Lee, and Tenten had been invited by Yakumo. They took pleasure in them and their new position as genin. Hiruzen Sarutobi appeared as they spoke. "Please let me borrow Naruto for a moment, everyone," Hiruzen inquired. Hiruzen led Naruto away from the party after they all nodded. They were the only people in the courtyard. "Let me start by saying that I am incredibly proud of you. You went above and beyond what I expected. But our time together as teacher and pupil is over." "Sensei," said Naruto. "No, Naruto, a new sensei will take over as your leader going forward. They will now begin instructing you," Hiruzen elucidated. Naruto sadly said, "I get sensei. Please stop acting that way. I do have a gift for you. It's a fresh approach," Hiruzen uttered. Naruto immediately became upbeat. Hiruzen performed the hand seals for the Kuchiyos no Jutsu while grinning. Monkey Enma emerged from the haze. He was joined by another monkey, so he wasn't alone. He appeared to be extremely bored. "Why am I here, Grandpa? I was enjoying my soak very much," the primate said. "I don't understand what went wrong with you from your father," Enma hissed. Hiruzen grinned and turned to look at a bewildered Naruto. "I'd like to introduce you to Sora, Naruto." Introduced was Hiruzen. Sora said sloppily, "Hey, hello, how are you, old man?" Naruto inquired. "Naruto, let me explain it to you. You have been asked by Hiruzen to sign the monkey summoning scroll. That is not possible, as he is aware. The Sarutobi clan is the only one to which the monkey clan is permanently allied. But in a sense, we reached a compromise. This is my grandson, your personal summons. You will only be able to summon him with the help of the unique tattoo he will give you." Enma clarified. "Why are you forcing me to do this once more?" asked Sora. "Shut up, get to it, because I said so." As he pushed him toward Naruto, Enma yelled. Sora muttered something before approaching Naruto. Before Sora bit Naruto in the arm, the two exchanged intense looks. The blonde's agonized scream knocked Sora off balance. The monkey easily flipped over and landed. "What the hell, dude?" yelled Naruto. "You're loud, man. I had to inject some of my saliva into you." "Observe your arm," said Sora. When Naruto did exactly that, he noticed that a tattoo was developing. It resembled the face of a monkey. "You had the opportunity to warn me before you did that," said Naruto angrily. Sora turned to his grandfather and said, "Whatever. May I leave now?" With a sigh, Enma waved him away. In a flash of smoke, Sora vanished, and shortly after, Enma did as well. Naruto gave him a glare as Hiruzen laughed at him. He was given a scroll by him after he withdrew it. "Those are the Kuchiyos no Jutsu's signs. You should practice it daily until you can do it while you're asleep," ordered by Hiruzen. Yeah, moaned Naruto. He then smiled and turned to face his former sensei. "I'm grateful for everything, sensei." "Naruto, it was a pleasure. Let's get back to the party now." Back inside the compound, the two moved. The teams were being set up by Hiruzen and the academy staff. The Hokage did not observe anyone intriguing from his vantage point. He did not anticipate this year's class to perform well. When he heard Naruto's name, he jumped. "So, with whom do we pair Naruto Uzumaki?" asked one of the teachers. "Although Lee finished dead last this year, we placed him with Neji and Tenten instead of Kurama and Rock Lee," said a different. "Although we still have Kurama-san. Who will be the third member?" Hiruzen said. "If I make a suggestion." All eyes turned to the Hokage. "I want to put Yakumo, Naruto, and Jacken together." "But Hokage-sama, is that a wise decision?" Iruka shouted. "It is well known that Naruto and Jacken are not particularly fond of one another. Their chances of success are virtually non-existent when you consider that neither Naruto nor Yakumo trust him. Although I can appreciate your concerns about the team, I think they can work very well as a unit. Their unique talents complement one another, and I am confident that they can function well as a team." Hiruzen elucidated. "Nevertheless, who could manage such a team and bring them together?" consulted a teacher. Hiruzen grinned as she distributed a folder to the academy teachers. The decision made by the Hokage stunned everyone. "Could you, Hokage-sama, please be serious? Even Uzumaki is not deserving of this," a different teacher exclaimed. "I concur. What she will do to them is entirely unpredictable. They'll thrive under her leadership. I'm confident of that. They are going to soon be one of our best teams, in my opinion," Hiruzen said while grinning. Everyone began to wonder if it was time for the man to retire. Before everyone went back to the academy, a week would pass. Once everyone had been divided into teams, it was time for them to meet their Jonin instructors. Iruka entered the class and called for order. Once everyone settled down, Iruka faced the class. "I am proud of all of you. You have passed the academy and are ready to start your career as shinobi. I know that you will carry those symbols on your headbands with pride and honor. Now you will be assigned to teams, so listen for your name." "Team 1, Iruka called out." Naruto didn't pay attention as Iruka called out teams. He hoped that he would be paired with Yakumo and Lee. He felt that they would be a very good team. Yakumo could cover them while he and Lee beat them senseless. "Team 9, Rock Lee, Tenten Kagachi and Neji Hyuga," said Iruka. Naruto kind of frowned at that. He agreed that they were a great team, but he knew that Neji would belittle his friend. He just hoped that their sensei would improve Lee's taijutsu. After hearing the names of Team 12, Iruka called out the next team. "Team 12, Iruka said with pause. He sighed and finally talked. "Naruto Uzumaki, Yakumo Kurama and Jacken." Everyone was silent and in shock. Even Neji was shocked. You could drop a pin in the room and everyone within the academy. "I'm sorry, but could you run that by me again?" asked Jacken. "I'm sorry, but that is the team that you have been assigned to. You will be teamed with Naruto and Yakumo," said Iruka. Yakumo jumped out of her seat. "You can't be serious about this, sensei. You're teaming us with a criminal, a convicted murderer," Yakumo exclaimed. "Hey, I didn't kill anyone. I went to jail for attempted murder. Get it right," Jacken shouted. Iruka sighed and rubbed his forehead. Suddenly a black ball came flying through the window. It exploded in a shower of confetti and smoke. When it cleared, a woman with a tan trench coat and nothing much else stood in front of a banner. The banner read, "The sexy and deadly sensei of Team 12, Ankomitarashi." She had a dango stick in her mouth and a wicked smile on her face. "All right, maggots, your date with devil has arrived." As this woman proudly stood in front of her banner, the class was still in a state of shock. The way she was dressed was the main reason some of the boys were staring at her. Iruka eventually emerged from behind the banner after a brief interval. The woman in front of him didn't seem to be making him very happy. Why do you repeat this behavior? Aruka inquired angrily. What died after flying up your butt? Just picking up my team. I'm here, added Anko. Aruka explained. The senseis of the teams are supposed to pick them up after lunch. Oh, I apologize for that, Anko said, apologetic. She then faced the students. Which one of you represents Team 12? The students quickly identified Naruto, Yakumo, and Jacken. 3 kunai were taken by Anko, who threw one at each of them. Although they stumbled a little, the kunais were never intended to strike them. They looked to see if there was a small note affixed to it. Jacken questioned, what's this? I'll be there, that's where I'll be. You'll meet me there because I most definitely won't be coming back to get you. Just make sure you're ready and have your weapons with you. Anko gave orders. Yakumo questioned, why would we need to do that? Anko grinned, but it was a cheerful grin. Heh, you'll see. Anko chuckled subtly as she said. Through the window, Anko departed. Aruka just sighed as Naruto, Yakumo, and Jacken turned to face her. Team 12 was traveling to the location indicated on the paper at noon. Jacken was in front of them as Yakumo walked alongside Naruto, mostly as a result of Yakumo keeping Naruto and herself away from him. Jacken did not bother to turn around to face them. Naruto sighed as he took a look at the team he was assigned to. He was also interested in the rationale behind his old sensei's pairing of Jacken with him. Jacken's life-saving attempt may have been forgiven, but he had not forgotten about it. The elderly man must have had a motive, though. On this, he put his trust in his judgment. They eventually arrive at the destination after some time. It appeared to be a practice field, but a gate protected it. There were warning signs everywhere. It was a vast, dark forest. When they heard the sound of something flying through the air, they all turned around to look for Anko. They each used kunai to deflect something while they waited. For your reflexes, I'll give you little snots an A, but for your defensive positioning, I'll give you an F. Anko spoke loudly. Her sitting on a branch with a dango stick in her mouth was discovered by the team. She fell from the branch and came to rest in front of them. She was pleased that they were all still wary of her intentions. I won't be attacking anymore, so don't be alarmed. Before we move on, let's finish our introductions. What are you referring to? Yakumo inquired. Who are you? A moron. Identify yourselves. What are your interests, hobbies, and other such characteristics? Added Anko. Why do you take the lead? You are the one who the others don't know, said Naruto. That's accurate. Anko Mitarashi is the person in question. She is also an assassin. My favorite things are a little fun, dango, blood, and snakes. Anko made a sly remark. There are too many things I dislike to list them all. Interest, in my opinion, would be terrifying and upsetting people. She spoke. The group gave her a bewildered and shocked look. This woman is crazy, Jacken pondered. She enjoys blood. What sort of diseased individuals does the ninja force have? Yakumo pondered. She is concealing something. She's been in a lot of pain because of whatever it is. Naruto observed her in thought. Anko grinned as she turned to face the team. Are you harboring unfavorable thoughts about me? They were all rigged. I ought to discipline you, you naughty kids. But I'll overlook it because we are running out of time. Anko chuckled as she said. Then she indicated Naruto. I go by the name Naruto Uzumaki. I like the old man and his family, ramen, jutsu, and my friends. I dislike people who are quick to judge the 3 minutes it takes to finish a bowl of ramen, and a particular condition of mine. My interests include jutsu training, meditation, and practical jokes, said Naruto. Anko nodded before indicating Yakumo. Yakumo Kurama here. I enjoy spending time with my family, friends, and eating desserts. Jacken, Kurenai Yuhai, ID, and Neji Hyuga are things I don't like. Reading, learning Genjutsu, and tea ceremonies are some of my interests. She spoke. Before pointing at Jacken, Anko grinned at her. The name is Jacken, plain and simple. I enjoy fighting, hot food, and attractive women. Midgets, spoiled princesses, and crazy women irritate me. My hobbies are sleeping, training, and fighting. Simply stated by Jacken. Jacken glared at her. So, I have a bully who is clearly overcompensating for something. Yakumo glared at her. A woman with a hit list and a sweet tooth. Naruto scowled at her. And a monk who's a mystery. I have, however, dealt with worse. So let's get down to business, shall we? You guys need to take the real test now. What test? Exactly. Genin, we're all set. Jacken bellowed. Did you really think that you were automatically a Genin of Konoha just because you could perform a clone, a replacement, and a transformation? I need a break. I am the one giving the actual test, and we are about to begin. Anko vanished from sight. After receiving a blow to the temple, All 3 genin were rendered unconscious. Over her 3 dead future students, Anko reappeared. In the present. It wasn't until she remembered what the crazy woman had done that she realized why it hurt a little. At last, you're awake. Yakumo swiveled to look at Jacken. When Naruto stopped her, she went straight for a kunai. Yakumo, now is not the time, said Naruto. Despite giving the older teen another glare, Yakumo nodded. He simply sighed and surveyed the area. Yakumo and Naruto both acted similarly. She inquired, where are we? I think we're in a forest, said the speaker, said Naruto, determined that on your own genius. Jacken made fun. Jacken, why don't you stop talking? At least he is attempting to escape from this. You must be planning your upcoming murder, I wager. Yakumo cursed. You should know that I'm sick and tired of your nonsense. You have no idea what happened before I did what I did. I don't need someone who can't even control her own powers to judge me. Jacken bellowed. Stop acting like you know me. Yakumo bellowed. Why don't you heed your own counsel? Jacken responded angrily. Stop talking, both of you. Something is coming up, yelled Naruto. It turned out that something was a sizable blue snake. It launches itself at them and bares its fangs. The snake slammed into where they were standing, and they all jumped out of the way. They all landed and faced the reptile, which gave them all a close look. The snake quickly moved to ensnare Naruto after glancing at him. Before the snake could ensnare him, Naruto sensed what was coming and vanished. Next to Yakumo, he emerged from the ground. The girl gave him a look. She yelled, let's get the hell out of here. We have to stay in Jacken. Use a genjutsu that covers a large area for me, said Naruto. Yakumo appeared prepared to gripe but nodded instead. She performed a few hand seals. Jubaku Satsu, mage. Yakumo bellowed. Thousands of vines protruded from the earth and encircled the snake. The snake struggled to escape the vines despite bucking against them. Jacken, whom Naruto called, didn't argue. They all ran together into the woods. Jacken turned to face his teammates as they ran. I assumed you two would have abandoned me to the snake. He spoke. Yakumo said, I wanted to, but Naruto stopped me. Whatever you want, I'll repay you later. Not that I want to possess you in any way. Jacken made a statement. What in the world was the Hokage thinking? Kami. If I could have been with Lee instead of you, I would have. Yakumo cursed. Oh no, Jacken said, here we go again. Okay, I'm done with this. Naruto muttered. He came to a halt and held his ground. The other two also came to a stop. What are you doing, Naruto? Soon, that snake will come after us, Yakumo remarked. I'm over this whole argument stuff. I won't participate in this argument with either of you. We work as a team, and a team stays together even when members don't get along, yelled Naruto. To Jacken, he turned. Not the best in the world, our history. Both you and I don't respect each other. Even though I may have forgotten the attack, I still forgave it. Nevertheless, because I believe in your abilities, I will trust you with my life. Then, Naruto turned to face Yakumo. You are one of my closest friends, but Yakumo, you need to let this go. Really, you don't know what happened to cause the attack. You cannot simply keep alienating him over something he had no control over. As Naruto humiliated Jacken and Yakumo, they both appeared somewhat ashamed. After inhaling deeply, Naruto turned to face them. I'm not saying that we must be friends, but we are comrades nonetheless. Let's put our differences aside and escape this psycho's death trap together. He spoke. Jacken and Yakumo exchanged glances before returning their attention to Naruto. Okay, Uzumaki, I'll cooperate with you, as long as you understand that we are not friends, stated Jacken. I suppose I can set my disagreement aside. A bit snottily, Yakumo said. Good, because I'm going to really need your assistance. I have a suspicion that the insane woman sent the snake after us, said Naruto. What is your strategy, Uzumaki? Jacken inquired. In search of prey, the snake moved across the ground. They had moved in this direction, according to her mistress. It questioned why she was engaging in such gaming. She made no mention of their ninja status. She felt tense all of a sudden. Something in the vicinity warned her to exercise caution. She walked silently while keeping an eye out for potential attackers. At that point, it abruptly became dark. The snake looked up to see a massive fireball heading straight for her. As the fireball boomed to the ground, she slithered quickly. She started to disappear into the shadows, and then there was a bright flash of light. Then it grew dark once more. Team 12 emerged from the trees and appeared to have caught their prey. Under the debris, their assailant was already dead. Well, that went well, I suppose, stated Jacken. Pretty depressing, in my opinion, Yakumo remarked. There was an abrupt rumble coming from the pit. As it emerged from the ground, the snake hissed venomously at the group. She swung her tail as soon as she spotted Naruto. Despite seeing the second attack, Naruto managed to avoid the first blow. He was propelled into a sizable tree. In pain, Naruto collapsed to the ground in a heap. When a sickle slashed her across the nose, the snake pounced on the crumpled Naruto. As Yakumo and Jacken examined Naruto, the woman roared in agony. The snake hissed at them as it prepared to strike. Yakumo was taken aback when Jacken abruptly stood in front of the two. Jacken took a defensive stance while holding a distinctive kusarigama. He asked, keeping his gaze fixed on the snake, "How is he?" "I'll be all right." Naruto let out a grunt. He was helped to stand up by Yakumo, standing next to Jacken. Okay, has anyone thought of a plan B? I propose that we make this lizard into a wallet and end the situation. Any fire jutsus that the Sandaime taught you? Jacken inquired. I am aware of the Kage Bunshin, Mizu Bunshin, Shinzanshu no Jutsu, and Academy material. So no. Naruto responded. How are you doing? Posed a query to Yakumo. My uncle taught me the only genjutsu I am familiar with. Yakumo elucidated. Okay, you take care of us. Give me a distraction, pipsqueak, and I'll rip this lizard's eye out. Ordered by Jacken. The two prepared themselves while nodding. The big snake hissed before charging at them. There was a voice saying, "That's enough." When the snake heard the voice, it stopped mid-lunge and turned. Team 12 followed suit and encountered their sensei. The snake approached her and hissed angrily at her. "Oh, stop being so whiny. So your nose was stolen. They impressed me, at least. Go home and rest now." Before vanishing in a cloud of smoke, the snake hissed once more. Naruto lost it after the snake left and grabbed his chest. He was caught by Yakumo and Jacken before he touched the ground. Walking up to them was Anko. He appears hurt. "Why don't we leave the woods?" An upbeat Anko questioned. The journey through the forest was peaceful but anxious. Yakumo, Naruto, and Jacken's glares were not noticed by Anko. After a few minutes, Naruto was able to walk on his own, which raised concerns among his teammates. Anko could sense the three's intentions, which only made her smile more. "I must admit that I was surprised by you three. I predicted you would fail based on your past. You almost did, and if the blonde hadn't been there, I would have simply let my animal devour you." Anko spoke without turning to face them. "So, you were it," Naruto muttered. "Don't act that way. I did say that I was surprised by you three. We can now explore a ninja's real life," added Anko. "How in the world can you be talking about that?" Jacken hissed. "You just about made it through my test." Anko made fun. "You're crazy. You call the things you did to us a test, right? You may have ended our lives." Yakumo bellowed. "You would be dead if I had wanted you to be. In addition, I wanted to know if you could put your past behind you and cooperate as a team." "This was a teamwork test?" Naruto inquired. Anko froze and turned to face her team. "You three have the potential to work together as an assassination espionage team, the Hokage says. You all have what it takes to do it. Normally, spies operate alone, but you guys work well together. The sole purpose of this test was to determine whether you two could put your personal differences aside and cooperate." Anko clarified. "There might have been a more effective way to handle this." Yakumo sputtered. "What's the fun in that, you ask?" Anko questioned and started moving again. The group sighed and went after her. Before they got to the exit, it would take them another hour. Before returning her focus to her team, Anko secured the area. "I should probably go tell the Hokage about the accomplishments of my team. Come see me at 8, she said before leaving. For a short while, the group did nothing but stare at one another. The silence was finally broken by Naruto. "I'm moving toward the Icaracus. Are you coming, guys?" Naruto inquired. "Are you purchasing?" Jacken inquired. Just shrugging, Naruto turned and left. Jacken kept his hands in his pockets and pursued the man. Yakumo arrived shortly after, and the three of them proceeded to the ramen stand. Anko took a slight step as she headed for the Hokage's office. She had finally outwitted those stiff old cronies and had a team assembled for herself. She started to envision the suffering she would subject them to. Before entering the Sandaime's office, she laughed like a schoolgirl. The secretary gave her a quick glance before letting her go. She grinned broadly as she entered the room. "King Hokage, I have exciting news," Anko reported, feeling downhearted. 3 of her most despised people were inside with the Sandaime. They were Konoha's wise men. Before she spoke, Hiruzen gave her a sorry look, asking Anko Mitarashi how her test went. Team 12 was eating their ramen in silence at Ikaraku Ramen. Chuchai and Iam, the owners of the stands, could feel the tension building among the people. Jacken was consuming a very large beef ramen while Naruto was already on his 3rd bowl. Yakumo was savoring her meal as she recalled what Naruto had yelled at her earlier in the forest. She inhaled deeply before turning to face her brand new teammates. Yakumo yelled, "Naruto, Jacken." The two put down their food to look at her. "Could you please explain what occurred?" Naruto questioned what happened. "Why he attempted to murder you," Yakumo responded. She spoke quickly after observing Jacken getting ready to leave. "If you can explain to me what I mean," I said. "Are you just going to judge or do you really want to know?" In a sarcastic tone, Jacken questioned. "No, kindly give me an explanation. We need to let everything out if we're going to work as a team," Yakumo remarked. Jacken gave her a brief moment of attention before grinning. Jacken said, "All right, I was told to kill Naruto." Yakumo asked, "What does that mean?" "Just as I said, my father gave me the order to kill Naruto." He spoke. "Why would your father want Naruto killed, you may ask?" Yakumo inquired. "You convinced me that the majority of the villagers despise the pipsqueak. My father beat me and warned me not to return until I had murdered him," stated Jacken. Although Yakumo was still unable to comprehend, she was well aware of how the village had treated Naruto. Everyone else despised Naruto, with the exception of the Sandaime family, the proprietors of the ramen shops, and her clan. When she once questioned him about it, Naruto remained silent. She didn't press him because he said he would explain it one day. "I don't know why the community dislikes you, you know. Is it as a result of the tricks you pulled on people in the past?" Jacken inquired. "Actually, it's much bigger than that, for reasons I won't go into here. Yakumo and Lee, I'll share someday, but it will be a while before I do," Naruto answered. Just now, Jacken snorted at him. "Pipsqueak, you're free to keep your secrets. I don't give a damn either way. I'll watch your back as long as you watch mine," stated Jacken. The group resumed eating in silence until Jacken spoke once more. "So, Yakumo, what's up with your powers? The villagers heard that you nearly killed your parents with it. There is a member of my clan every generation whose Genjutsu skill is so powerful that it actually causes damage. I belong to that group. I was being trained to control it. But the person I believed I could trust sealed my powers because she didn't believe in my abilities. I misunderstood a conversation and became irate. The fire was the end result," Yakumo elucidated. Jacken laughed as a result of this. "So you threw a temper tantrum, right?" Trying to contain his laughter, Jacken questioned. Yakumo gave him a glare and appeared ready to cast a just spell. "You two should remain calm because you won't fight near the stand. I won't let you disturb this area because it is sacred ground." Naruto spoke vehemently. "Okay, I'll stop now," stated Jacken. Yakumo grumbled before returning to her ramen. "So can you now control it?" he questioned. "I can, but just barely. I can combine powers with my second personality thanks to the seal Jiraiya-sama put on me," Yakumo remarked. She exposed the seal that had been applied to her by lifting the back of her hair. "So, do you have a particular style of genjutsu that you enjoy using?" Jacken inquired. When Jacken interrupted Yakumo, she responded, "Well, our clan mostly uses binding genjutsu to disable our opponents." "That's boring." "Oh, you already know what to do. Evoke specters or ghosts," Jacken exclaimed joyfully. "That's something I've been saying for years." Someone finally makes sense, Naruto threw in. "You two are so young looking." Yakumo grimaced. The group talked until they were all fed up. From outside, a hand slammed onto the Sandaime's desk. Homura was yelling at Anko from inside. While Hiruzen and Danzo appeared calm, Koharu also exuded a great deal of rage. Anko simply rubbed her ear like it was nothing. "Mitarashi, what in the world were you thinking? You took 3 brand new genin into the Forest of Death, and one of them was a clan heiress on top of that." Homura cried out. "I had no idea I had to pamper an heiress. I believed I was ninja training." Anko spoke carelessly. "I've had enough of your attitude now. You acted recklessly and foolishly." Koharu threw in. "They were able to survive, right? They barely passed your test, according to your report," Danzo said. "They do, however, have a lot of potential. It would be enjoyable and I can work with them easily." Anko smiled as she spoke. "See how foolish it was to elevate her to the rank of Jonin Sensei. Who can predict what she has in store for them?" said Homura. "She still has a team, despite her lack of judgment. I have faith in Anko to treat her new team fairly," Hiruzen uttered. Homura scoffed and left the space. Soon after, Danzo and Koharu came, giving Anko a disapproving glare. Anko mocked them. "Old, dried-up fossils," Anko murmured. "So, Anko, can you unlock their potential?" Hiruzen inquired. "No problem. I'll turn them into the best team ever," Anko applauded. Only grinning at her antics, Hiruzen. Team Anko reunited the following day at the practice area. Anko noticed that her charges were a little different from before as she peered at them. They all had the same expression, but it appeared that they had put their pettiness further in the past. She dared to believe that they had gotten along. Okay, you little rats are real ninjas today. It's time to learn the Anko rules before we get started. Anko spoke up. Anko rules. Yakumo said it again. That seems ominous, added Jacken. I'm afraid this is going to be torture. My ass, Naruto threw in. If everyone is finished, Anko said with a certain edge. The three genin remained quiet as they awaited her conclusion. Rule 1. I'm in charge, and you must follow my orders. Rule number 2. When we train, you will give it your all. I don't want to hear you complain about how difficult things are. Rule number 3. No discussing my training will be permitted. Such behavior would invite a terrible penalty. They all took gulps. There are more regulations, but you'll discover them as we go. It's training time now. In response, Anko called forth some snakes. Maggots, go ahead and circle the forest. Move along. The three genin took off like a shot, and the snakes hissed and followed them. Anko took a look at her genin as she lay there at noon. Her hands were on her hips as she sighed. Your trio is pitiful. It's unbelievable that you're so worn out after an hour-long fight. The last time, you nearly got me, added Anko. Jacken murmured, psychotic. Bitch, I'll make you pay, Yakumo muttered. You've made my list, I said. Naruto muttered. At them, Anko sighed. I guess you don't need lunch if you have the strength to threaten me. Anko smiled as she spoke. They moaned as they stood up after falling. They gave their teacher an angry look as they prepared for another attack. An alarm went off as they were moving. Anko gave a hand clap motion. The training for today is over. Grab a bite to eat, then come meet me at the tower. She placed her order before vanishing using Shunshin. Why do I think that we won't survive this? Yakumo inquired. Worse could happen, said Naruto. A crazy, mentally unbalanced kunoichi with a fetish for pain is in charge of us. How could this possibly be worse? Jacken inquired. We could be governed by someone even worse. Lamely, Naruto uttered. He was looked at by Yakumo and Jacken. In order to receive their first mission, Team 12 joined the mission. Each person was eager to start their professional careers. They all noticed that Anko was struggling to contain her laughter. They turned to face the Hokage, who grinned at them. Are you prepared for your first mission, Team 12? Hiruzen inquired. They all exclaimed, Yes, Hokage-sama. Good. Tora, the daimyo's cat, must be taken prisoner as your first task, Hiruzen uttered. The Hokage was met with shocked looks from all three genin. Anko used this opportunity to snap a photo of their looks. She would continue to love it as one of her favorite photos. 1 month, one of Naruto, Yakumo, and Jacken's longest months ever. How on earth could they refer to these as missions? They had only performed these chores for the past month. They were all glaring at their sensei, who was grinning as they were made fun of. How were the abilities they acquired in the academy supposed to function in such circumstances? The purpose of these missions was explained by Anko, but it didn't make them any less annoying. One of the most difficult missions to date was their first one. Madame Shijimi had to stop right away whatever she was doing to the damn thing. Team 12 was going to kill the cat the next time it broke free. It was something that each member of the team agreed on. In fact, Anko was barely in time to save the cat from a pitfall that was laced with pikes at the bottom. Then there was the mission to babysit the Terror Twins. The twins of a councilman were nothing but trouble and were very defiant in taking orders from any of them. They actually managed to behave one time for the team. However, that mission was given away to another genin squad. Naruto's game of ninja got a little out of hand. The hero twins were pissing their pants as Jacken's version of a guillotine was used with real weapons. Now, there was this mission. They currently were at the Inuzuka kennels. The mission was to wash the dogs, a very simple mission. Jacken was having a much easier time cleaning the dogs. When he was asked, all he said it's an animal thing. Naruto wasn't having too much problems. There were some dogs that he kept away from since they growled at him, but he was getting the job done. The one who had the most problems was Yakumo. She was still attempting to get the same dog washed. It was a small white puppy that didn't wish to get washed. It belonged to a rude and rowdy boy named Kiba. Kiba just laughed at Yakumo, who was getting angrier with every passing minute. Then Kiba did something incredibly stupid. I can't believe they let a weak girl like you graduate. The academy is going to be a breeze, Kiba commented. Yakumo stopped chasing the puppy and took a deep breath. Kiba looked at her in confusion when he saw her begin to change. The sky began to get dark and Yakumo's hair began to whip around wildly. When she turned to face him, Kiba looked very afraid. Yakumo's face turned old and scary. Her hands turned into claws. Her teeth sharpened and looked like needles. Yakumo unleashed an inhuman screech which scared Kiba stiff. Do you have something to say, you little bitch? Yakumo asked a scary, high-pitched voice. When Kiba said nothing, her head grew and her fangs got wider. I said, Do you have something to say? And no ma'am. Hiba squeaked. Leave. Yakumo bellowed. Hiba took off like a shot, a trail of water coming from his pants. Yakumo suddenly returned to normal before looking at the puppy, who was also scary stiff. She glared at the puppy before pointing to the tub of soap and water. The puppy complied and hopped into the tub. Yakumo sighed before doing her job. Her teammates looked at her in shock and awe. That was badass, Jacken said, stunned. Wow, she's scarier than Anko-sensei, Naruto whispered. Yakumo snapped her head toward the two who held their hands up in defense. Anko only smiled in amusement. Anko and her team walked out of the Hokage Tower. They were all tired and could wait to get home. Suddenly, they noticed that Anko had stopped. All three looked at her with cautious. Anko saw this and looked a bit hurt. Oh come on, I'm not that bad, Anko said with a pout. The team wasn't buying it and stood in alert. She smiled and raised her hands in surrender. Okay, I'll behave. I just have to say that I am. Anko looked around for a second and saw that there were too many people here. She quickly led her team into an alley where they can be alone. Once she was sure that no one could hear them, she continued. As I was saying, I want to say that you've been doing a great job as of late. The team looked at her in shock. Oh my god, it's an imposter, Jacken bellowed. He got kicked in the face by Anko and was sent flying out the alley. That's what I get for being nice. Be at the training grounds at 8 a.m. Anko said and walked away. Yakumo and Naruto looked at each other before going over to their teammate. Hiruzen perused a number of the reports that he received from patrols each day. As the life of a Hokage was, it was nothing new to him. He reached for a report and started reading. He started to worry a little bit as he read on. He gave his ANBU a signal. One of them emerged and made a bow. I need Raid Namiyashi and Aoba Yamashiro here right away, ordered by Hiruzen. The ANBU nodded before leaving. Several minutes later, that ANBU member was joined by two Jonin. While Aoba and Raid remained on their knees, the ANBU vanished. Rise, tell me about this report, I said. He gave Raid the report, who reviewed it. What exactly did you not understand, sir? Rado inquired. Where was the location of the area you looked into on your way back? Hiruzen inquired. Aoba pointed it out on the map of the Fire Country. Hiruzen's eyes grew gloomy. What did you discover? Sir, we found nothing. We only came across some damaged breakers and samples that appeared to be dead. Nothing unusual was discovered, Aoba responded. At that, Hiruzen sighed. Thank you, you are both let go, Hiruzen uttered. They yelled hi and departed via Shunshin. Hiruzen regarded the area that Aoba pointed out with worry. He was familiar with the area and the cabin. One of his students received it as a gift from him when he was younger. It was his favorite pupil, and he wanted to conduct his research somewhere other than Konoha. This was before he went rogue and let him down. Hiruzen reasoned that there had to be more there. His disobedient pupil wouldn't just let things happen naturally. He needed this to be looked into. He thought about sending an ANBU team, but he decided that it would be preferable if the person was familiar with the ways of his former pupil. Given that he had done the same to her, it would be a risky choice. But he was left with no choice. He took a scroll and started writing down the instructions. He took a stamp after it was finished and put it on the scroll. The ANBU member showed up as he turned to his left once more, calling Anko Mitarashi. Team 12 was performing a brand new exercise close to Training Area 44. Anko was currently teaching them how to use chakra more effectively because they had all mastered the tree walking exercise to an acceptable level. They were doing pull-ups with just their fingers being held because she was teaching them how to stick to the tree using various parts of their bodies. Anko observed her team perform the exercise. Feel the burn, my little brats, that's it, Anko said. She then sprayed lighter fluid from a bottle onto the bonfire she had built beneath them. The fire increased slightly, forcing the team to complete their exercises more quickly. Sensible burn, she stated firmly. She was suddenly aware of a presence in the space. Just as the ANBU member emerged, she turned. He began, Anko Mitarashi, you are too, but stopped when he saw what was happening. He made a few hand seals while groaning. Suihachi, Suten. He extended his palm, and a water jet emerged, putting out the fire. Anko exclaimed, hey, the Hokage wants you to come see him right away. After speaking, the ANBU vanished. Anko's face was slightly scowled. She reverted to facing her genin. Okay, I'll see what the Hokage requests. Keep working out while I'm gone, Anko said before disappearing. When Anko showed up once more, the team exhaled in relief. I completely forgot about the summoning technique. Kuchiyos no Jutsu. The final exam snake could be seen once the dust had settled. My here will keep you company, said the woman. To her summon, she then turned. You can eat them if they get lazy. Before relocating, she informed the snake. The snake appeared to smile as it regarded them. They all agreed on the same thing. "You crazy little git," everyone shouted. Anko entered the Hokage's office and gave him a respectful bow. "I have come as you requested, sir." "What do you want from me specifically?" asked Anko. "Anko, read this report." With that, Hiruzen gave her the report. Anko took it and continued to read. He noticed the change in her when she got to the part that caught his attention. "Do you recall this location?" "Yes, it was one of his many underground laboratories. He took me to it for the first time," added Anko. "There is a hidden laboratory there, then." Hiruzen sighed and muttered, "Please let me go and deal with this place with a team, sir. We'll demolish it right away with fire," added Anko. "It's already been planned out," Hiruzen uttered. "But, sir, that fool should be made to pay," Anko yelled. "I've had enough. Everything has already been planned. I called you in to get confirmation of my suspicions," Hiruzen uttered. Anko appeared to be about to blow up but quickly collected herself. "You decide, Hokage-sama. If you'll pardon me," added Anko. While Anko moved toward the door, Hiruzen nodded. "Mitarashi," yelled Hiruzen. Anko only turned to see a scroll approaching her. She grabbed it and saw that it had a C on it. She returned his gaze. "I want you to gather any data before destroying the lab. It must be completed, Hokage-sama." "I'm grateful, Hokage-sama," added Anko. Hiruzen refocused her attention by saying, "Anko, keep in mind that you are in charge of their welfare. Don't strike out on your own to settle an argument." Anko bowed, nodded, and walked away. Hiruzen rubbed his forehead while sighing. He hoped this was a smart move. He still had faith in Anko, though, that she would safeguard her team despite anything, including her past. Team 12 arrived at the gates the following day. Anko gave them a period of 3 to 5 days to pack. They waited for their sensei while standing. Anko soon appeared in front of them after a short delay. She had a serious expression on her face that didn't quite fit who she was. They started to leave after she gave them an explanation of the mission. The team struggled to keep up with her due to how quickly she moved. She gave them a second look. "Exactly what are you doing? Hurry up, hurry up," Anko yelled. "Why don't you move more slowly? It's only a few hours to get here." Idly, Jacken said. He was suddenly caught in a web of snakes. Anko jerked and threw him into a tree. As Anko materialized in front of him, he sighed. She grabbed his throat and held him still. "If you have something to say, speak it aloud. When I tell you to move your ass, you do so," Anko yelled. "Stop it, Anko-sensei," Yakumo shouted. "Jacken is representing our collective viewpoint. You're asking too much of us to travel a short distance. You're acting strangely," Naruto threw in. Anko let him go after turning to glare at her students. Without them, she departed and carried on. While Naruto was gazing at his sensei's retreating form, Yakumo checked on Jacken. "What in the world is her issue? Since we left the village, has she been acting this way?" Jacken swore. "I understand what you mean. She's behaving far too differently than she usually does," Yakumo threw in. "What do you think about this pipsqueak?" Jacken inquired of Naruto. "She's already pretty secretive about something, and the mission we're on has only made her worse. We had better keep an eye out for her, whatever it is," said Naruto. "If she's acting like this, we should probably watch out for ourselves," said the group. Stated Jacken. "Avoid saying that," Yakumo shouted. "She is our sensei, and we must protect her as she would protect us." As she took off, Yakumo spoke. As well, Naruto jumped off with a shrug. Jacken did the same and rubbed his throat. Anko continued to advance, eager to reach the destination. She hoped that her group had made a U-turn and returned to Konoha. She vowed to herself that she would apologize for how she had behaved against them. Although she was aware of her snarky behavior toward that man, she was powerless to control herself. That man, one of Konoha's top missing nin, betrayed her trust and love for him and left her alone to suffer rejection from her peers. Orochimaru was the name of that man. She recalled her initial encounter with one of the renowned 3 legendary ninja. When her class graduated, he visited the academy to select an apprentice. He smiled while casting her one glance. She was astonished when he chose her. She was content, however, to receive one-on-one instruction from the brilliant Orochimaru. Although it was difficult, she gained strength and discovered all kinds of forbidden jutsu. She worked in his lab as well. She feels a little awkward about that, but she would go to any lengths for Orochimaru. They kept conducting the experiments while he continued to train her. Everything was altered one day. He fled to conduct more experiments while leaving her at Konoha's mercy. She only just recovered from the blow. Among her fellow ninjas, she was an outcast and was not respected. The locals were wary of her as well. Later, she developed her persona to handle everything and put in more effort than most to earn the respect she now possessed. Orochimaru's abandonment still hurt despite everything. She would always wonder what she did to deserve to be ignored in such a way. She complied with nothing he asked of her. Why did he leave her behind? Why didn't he bring her along? Why did he mark her with this? Anko massaged her shoulder and concentrated on getting to the cabin. She was startled when she heard, "Hey you crazy bitch, wait the hell up." She paused and turned to face her group. They took several breaths before landing in front of her. Anko gave them a non-committal glance. "Why the hell did you leave without us? Damn, you're fast." Jaqen shouted. "I had assumed you would have returned to Konoha," added Anko, "and by no means skip our first C-rank mission." "On this, I agree with the pipsqueak. If I get to carry out this mission, I'll put up with your PMS," added Jaqen. Yakumo only gave a nod. Before turning her back on the three, Anko gave them a quick glance. "Whatever, we'll take a 20-minute break before moving on," she said before tumbling to the ground. The team was happy to follow her and did so. On the edge of the Land of Fire was the Land of Sound, formerly known as the Land of Rice Fields. They were well known for importing wheat and rice, but everything changed when one man entered the country and took total control. Before the sun rose, he swept into the country during the night and established himself as its ruler. The daimyo was persuaded to establish his own ninja village by the same person. The land would later be known as the Land of Sound by this man and his men, who also founded the Hidden Sound Village. Through the tunnels of the underground bunker, a young girl moved. She was wearing a hood over her face. As she moved in the direction of the throne room to see the village chief, a white sash flowed behind her. She had a snake tattoo on each of her thin arms. Despite not wearing shoes, she carried herself like a princess. She eventually made it to the bunker's main room and entered without saying hello. The people inside tensed up but relaxed once they recognized the visitor. The girl waited impatiently with her arms folded. "Orochimaru, why have you called me here?" she demanded angrily. One person exclaimed, "Watch how you talk to Lord Orochimaru. Adults are conversing, so be quiet, drone." She spoke. The individual tensed, but a hand soothed him. Orochimaru took a look at the female. "Midoshi, it's been so long. At the very least, let me see your lovely face," said Orochimaru. At first, Midoshi did nothing but comply and take off her hood. Orochimaru only grinned in her direction as her green eyes pierced into his. "My goodness, you've become more stunning. You must be 12 years old now. I get weary of you. Why was I called here today?" Midoshi questioned sharply. "All right, I'll give you a task," said Orochimaru. "Do you ever lose track of your audience when speaking, and not one of your drones that you can control?" She spoke. "Midoshi, you need to have advanced skills for this. If you could do me this favor, I would be eternally grateful." He spoke. Before turning to face the former Sannin, Midoshi simply scoffed. Orochimaru rose from his throne and approached her. She opened the scroll he gave her. She went through the scroll's contents. "If I do this, I will never see your face again," said Midoshi. "You hurt me, kid. I'm taking such good care of you. I really am. I'm sure your godfather is happy," said Orochimaru. "Both my godfather and I despise you. You're only kissing my ass because you don't want to lose the snake contract. That's all. Unlike your drones, I'm not a drone." She spoke. She used a shunshin to leave after tossing the scroll to the ground. Orochimaru scowled as he studied the scroll. One of his personal security officers approached him. He questioned, "My lord, why do you tolerate her? She has a noble goal that will endure forever. She could turn against us and thwart our plans if we offend her. I'll put up with her disrespect for now," Orochimaru elucidated. The ninja dropped the topic after bowing to his teacher. The pace of Team 12 was slower than before. Anko was still in a bad mood, but at least she was being more understanding with them. Before they arrived at the cabin Anko had mentioned, they would have to travel for 3 hours. They approached the cabin with caution and got ready to go inside. Jaqen pounded on the door after receiving a nod from Anko. With their kunais ready to be thrown, they all entered the cabin. They all looked around for potential enemies. Jaqen yelled, "All clear." Yakumo yelled, "Clear here as well." "Clear," yelled Naruto. "All good. Get together," ordered by Anko. The group gathered around her, and she directed them into a room. Before locating the switch, Anko scanned the room. When she pulled it, a covert door appeared. The group peered down the stairwell. Anko looked at her group. "Be completely on guard going forward. We have no idea what to anticipate," Naruto uttered. "Into the belly of the beast, and from the demons behind," Jaqen concluded. Team 12 plunged into the abyss with Anko at the helm.
I will continue the story in next part, so turn on the bell notification so you never miss an upload. Till then, we weeb offline.